Stop whatever you are doing right now. Because the entire foundation of the luxury rap empire has just violently imploded into microscopic dust. Can you even fathom the unimaginable scale of absolute chaos unfolding across the globe right this second? Word has just leaked out of elite financial intelligence circles that the federal government has officially swooped in like a pack of starving wolves, slapping emergency seizure notices across the multi-million-dollar gates of the biggest boss himself, Rick Ross. Are we genuinely watching the high-definition liquidation of the Maybach throne? Or is this the most ice-cold, calculated digital ambush ever orchestrated in the history of the music business? While millions of fans are staring at their screens in absolute paralyzed shock, wondering how a billionaire lifestyle of sprawling Georgia mega mansions and exotic vintage fleets could vanish overnight, one ruthless mastermind is sitting back watching the fire burn. That's right, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson has reportedly pulled off the impossible, utilizing a massive online digital leak to expose hidden offshore bank accounts and trigger an atomic-level federal takedown. You cannot afford to blink, look away, or breathe for a single fraction of a second, because we are diving headfirst into the raw, unadulterated truth behind the ultimate hip history catastrophe. Rick Ross gets $70 million worth of assets seized. He's broke Marvel's Wolverine. This video provides an in-depth breakdown of the viral rumors surrounding the alleged multi-million-dollar asset freeze and the intense online reactions shaking up the hip-hop community. To fully comprehend the sheer magnitude of the total structural annihilation unfolding across the country right now, you have to look at the massive decades-long psychological warfare that set this financial trap in motion for over 17 years. Rick Ross and 50 Cent have been locked in the most expensive, deeply personal, and venomous rivalry in the history of the music business. But while other rap feuds exist purely on audio tracks and viral videos, this war has always been fought inside the high-stakes economy of public perception, corporate credibility, and real-world asset metrics. The match was originally struck all the way back in 2008 at the BET Hip Hop Awards when a simple cold passing glance backstage turned into an absolute declaration of war, and Ross immediately launched a lyrical attack with the track Mafia Music in early 2009, attempting to paint himself as an untouchable ultra-wealthy drug lord who controlled the ports of Miami. But 50 Cent did not just write a counterverse because he went completely surgical within weeks, pulling up official Florida Department of Corrections documents to reveal to the entire world that Rick Ross was actually William Roberts, a former correctional officer who had spent years working inside a state prison facility. He branded him with the toxic nickname Officer Ricky, a label designed to permanently bankrupt his street credibility and destroy his hard-earned gangster aesthetic in front of millions of hardcore fans. In any other era with any other artist, that exposure would have been an absolute career execution that forced them into hiding, but Rick Ross did something remarkable as he refused to die and leaned further into the luxury narrative. He built Maybach Music Group into a powerhouse empire, signing massive artists like Meek Mill and Whale, while turning his lifestyle brand into a literal currency of high-end excess. To prove his financial dominance over 50 Cent once and for all, Ross purchased a sprawling 109-room mega mansion in Fayetteville, Georgia, famously dubbed the Promised Land, which had ironically been repossessed from boxing legend Evander Holyfield after the estate's massive $500,000 annual maintenance costs bankrupted him. Ross used the property as a visual shield, filming himself relaxing poolside, flaunting diamond-encrusted rings, and bragging about his massive collection of exotic vintage vehicles to convince the public that his pockets were bottomless. Yet 50 Cent never let go of the throat, even when he suffered massive courtroom defeats, such as the infamous 2015 legal verdict that ordered him to pay $7 million to the mother of Ross's child, subsequently triggering 50 Cent's highly publicized Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing. Ross spent years mocking 50 Cent's bankruptcy, publicly claiming that his legal team had pulled up 50 Cent's bank records during the discovery phase and felt sorry for how poor he was, but Curtis Jackson was playing a far more dangerous long game. He rebuilt his wealth through the massive power of the television universe with the Power franchise, established a lucrative Las Vegas residency, and constructed a massive media enterprise that could rival any major studio network. By the time we entered 2026, 50 Cent launched a relentless, calculated campaign to dismantle Ross's billionaire image item by item, mocking him for being a mere special guest on the Millennium Tour and openly ridiculing him on Instagram for cutting his own grass to save money on staff. He famously sent him $40,000 as a public insult when viral photos surfaced of the MMG boss waiting to board a commercial flight like an ordinary citizen, and the pressure inside Ross's corporate circle had been building like a white-hot pressure cooker for months. The general public thought the lawnmower jokes and the commercial flight memes were just standard celebrity banter, completely failing to realize that 50 Cent was meticulously and aggressively using his immense media resources to bait Ross into a high-stakes financial trap. That trap completely snapped shut yesterday when the federal government stepped onto the property lines to strip the boss of his empire, detonating a catastrophic explosion across the digital landscape at exactly 1:14 p.m. yesterday afternoon, and causing an immediate freeze in social media traffic. It all started when 50 Cent appeared on a widely circulated private media broadcast and calmly displayed a high-resolution red-stamped financial ledger directly to the camera lenses, showing that the ledger did not contain standard company performance charts, but instead detailed a highly complex network of unlisted corporate bank accounts. It revealed secret offshore holdings in the Cayman Islands and encrypted transaction streams registered under multiple shell corporations co-owned by William Roberts, and 50 Cent looked straight into the lens of public opinion to deliver a devastating cold punchline. "You talked about my bankruptcy records for 10 years, Ricky. You told everybody you looked at my accounts and felt bad for me, but my team just dug up your real ledgers from the dark web. The promised land is not an asset, it is a multi-million-dollar shell game, and the government just got the master keys. Let us see how much grass you can cut when the feds change the locks on the gate." He laughed, and the digital broadcast went absolutely viral in a matter of minutes, amassing an astronomical 4 million views before mainstream hip-hop trade outlets could even draft a response headline. The reaction within the industry was pure sub-zero terror, because this was not a standard rap beef or a photoshopped meme, but rather a loud public exposure of highly sensitive financial tracking numbers that the general public was never supposed to see. Then came the first truly shocking and catastrophic twist of this entire unfolding disaster, a twist that turned a messy public relations nightmare into an immediate total federal execution, less than 2 hours after the unredacted bank records hit the internet timeline. A fleet of high-security federal law enforcement vehicles accompanied by armed agents from the Internal Revenue Service and Criminal Investigation Divisions flooded the main entry gates of the 300-acre Promised Land estate in Georgia, while simultaneous tactical operations were initiated at Ross's premium hangar facility at Miami Opelika Airport and his luxury car storage units in Florida. Eyewitnesses at the scene immediately pulled out cell phones to record the terrifying high-adrenaline panic, and the shaky leaked phone footage shows federal agents deploying heavy-duty physical barricades across the private driveway while official court enforcers began systematically applying bright yellow-red stamped, seized by federal order seals across the glass doors of the mega mansion. The sound of massive flatbed tow trucks roaring up the private highway to forcibly remove Ross's multi-million-dollar collection of customized vintage cars and exotic vehicles echoed through the neighborhood like a siren, transforming the narrative past a standard hip-hop conflict into an absolute raw liquidation of a celebrity's physical existence. As the visual footage of the vehicle seizures flooded the internet, an underground legal reporter noticed a highly specific and chilling detail embedded in the official federal asset seizure notice posted on the estate's main gate, revealing that the asset freeze was not triggered by an ongoing tax audit or standard business debt. According to the red stamp court paperwork, the federal government had moved forward with an emergency civil asset forfeiture action under a highly restricted federal statute, a statute that is only activated when an entity's corporate bank records match the specific transaction patterns of an active international money laundering investigation. The realization hit the culture like a thunderbolt because Rick Ross was not just facing a bad week of trolling, but his entire multi-million-dollar empire was being treated as a literal crime scene by the United States government. The absolute fallout from the simultaneous federal raids did not stay contained to the borders of the Georgia countryside, and by midnight, the entire global media ecosystem had transformed into a complete war room where trending tags completely took over global search algorithms. Fans and media commentators frantically attempted to verify if the biggest boss had actually been taken into physical custody. And then came the second completely unexpected twist that turned this federal asset seizure into an absolute emergency for major international corporate brands. A verified and highly respected corporate intelligence account on X published a rapid series of verified corporate registry updates, revealing that in the 4 hours immediately following the federal raid, the parent corporation handling the distribution and licensing for Ross's extensive fast food franchise locations, had quietly and aggressively issued a unilateral brand termination notice. The corporate board was moving frantically to completely detach their mainstream brand from Ross's name before the federal asset freeze could legally compromise their own commercial banking channels, making the implication clear, terrifying, and completely undeniable. The real-world income engines that generated the actual revenue to maintain Ross's billionaire lifestyle were being systematically unplugged in the dark, and within minutes of this corporate revelation, a prominent mainstream entertainment news network claimed they had received an anonymous tip from an inner-circle source close to the G-Unit General's media camp. The insider dropped a devastating secondary bombshell stating that 50 Cent's tech team had reportedly acquired the unredacted digital database from a compromised offshore banking server months ago, meaning the current bank record leak was just the opening tactical move in a much larger war. The full digital file reportedly contains explicit records of multi-million-dollar wire transfers, linking prominent Hollywood elites and international sports figures straight to Ross's private corporate ledger. The reaction from the entertainment world's highest elite spaces immediately boiled over into public view as a prominent talent agency executive speaking under strict conditions of absolute anonymity to a major entertainment magazine violently slammed 50 Cent's aggressive tactics, calling it a dangerous and unprecedented execution of the celebrity industry. What Curtis Jackson executed yesterday is not just a personal attack on a rival, but it is a systematic and highly deliberate destruction of the economic pillars of modern hip-hop culture, the executive stated with words dripping with pure unadulterated panic. He has used an unauthorized bank record leak to deliberately trigger an emergency federal asset seizure on a global stage, causing immediate catastrophic damage to corporate sponsorships, fast food franchises, and international entertainment contracts. If the courts do not step in to freeze this distribution, the entire luxury rap economy is going to completely collapse by the end of the week. But the digital momentum was completely and utterly unstoppable, and by early this morning, an underground celebrity news network leaked a series of highly frantic and panicked text messages, allegedly sent between a legendary Southern producer and a high-ranking record label president. The text chains filled with panicked corporate terminology and frantic punctuation laid out the true level of absolute desperation running through the A-list community. He has got the full offshore ledger from the Cayman accounts. Ross's assets are completely locked down by the feds, and the corporate offices are pulling all the franchise contracts to save themselves. If 50 drops the next part of that database showing the international wire transfers, our entire distribution network is going to face a federal sweep, and we need to completely scrub his name from the upcoming album credits before the morning news cycle hits. The narrative had officially escalated past the point of no return, and the hidden bank record leak had successfully triggered the most violent credibility and financial panic modern hip-hop had ever witnessed. The global public was not just waiting for a standard social media reply anymore, because they were watching a live digital execution of a multi-million-dollar empire where the hunter held all the distribution power. The global hip-hop community, the business world, and the wider international media landscape have completely and violently splintered under the immense weight of this unfolding historical disaster. Social media timelines have become an absolute digital battlefield with over 20 million users actively engaging in fierce and non-stop debates regarding the sheer destruction of the big boss persona. On one side, a massive and highly energized faction of fans is celebrating the G-Unit General as the ultimate cultural executioner, viewing 50 Cent's leak as a historic and long-awaited victory for absolute truth and transparency in an industry notorious for hiding its actual financial vulnerabilities behind expensive public relations styling, rented luxury assets, and superficial image framing for the last 15 years. 50 Cent just did what the banks and the media were too terrified to do for decades, taking down the single loudest boss in hip-hop history with a single unredacted financial receipt and permanently shattering the entire illusion of the billionaire lifestyle, posted a viral user on X securing over 100,000 reposts in less than 3 hours. However, on the opposite side, an increasingly vocal group of industry traditionalists, legacy artist managers, and Ross's massive global fan base are launching an intense and coordinated backlash against the leak. They claim that 50 Cent is actively crossing a dangerous and malicious moral and professional line, using unauthorized private banking assets to publicly destroy a man's entire business infrastructure, freeze his personal life, and compromise his legendary musical legacy solely for the sake of driving up streaming metrics, algorithm numbers, and global digital clout. The industry's heavyweights are caught in a terrifying silent crossfire, completely terrified to say the wrong thing on record or take a side that could destroy their own corporate relationships. Prominent podcasters and media commentators are spending hours dissecting every line of the leaked financial spreadsheets, trying to accurately project the exact legal and financial casualties of the upcoming asset forfeiture trial. DJ Academics went live to an audience of over 400,000 concurrent viewers, breaking down the sheer catastrophic scale of the looming industry fallout with raw intensity. You guys do not understand the actual level of historical math that is happening behind the scenes right now, because this is not just a normal rap beef about a song or a lyric, but the literal dissolution of one of the biggest independent infrastructure setups in the history of the culture. If the federal government completely locks down his personal real estate, shuts down his airport hangars, and the corporate offices pull the franchise licensing, the MMG brand is completely dead in 48 hours. The labels are panicking, the banks are panicking, and absolutely nobody on the A-list is safe in 2026, Academics shouted while aggressively slamming his hands down on his streaming desk. Even the unwritten codes of the rap world are being aggressively and violently re-examined by cultural critics, pointing out that 50 Cent has successfully and permanently changed the dynamic of hip-hop conflict. He no longer needs to enter a recording studio to write a diss track to defeat his historical enemies, because he simply leaks a physical time-stamped financial document and lets the federal asset seizure teams do the absolute permanent physical damage for him. The old guard is shaking its head in disbelief, realizing that the rules of engagement in the culture have permanently and irrevocably changed forever. At exactly 2:30 p.m. this afternoon, the entire historical narrative violently shifted into a third completely unprecedented direction that has left legal analysts, corporate lawyers, and Wall Street observers completely frozen with absolute disbelief. A high-ranking corporate compliance officer working within an elite international banking syndicate leaked a highly confidential internal audit report to a prominent global financial news network, and the audit report, stamped with the highest level of federal security markings, revealed that the massive unredacted offshore bank files displayed by 50 Cent were not dug up by his team from the dark web yesterday afternoon. The incredible and terrifying truth is that the digital metadata on the official corporate files reveals that the entire offshore banking database had been quietly and meticulously compiled and submitted to federal investigators over 8 months ago in late 2025, long before the bank records ever surfaced on the public internet timeline. Let that sink in very carefully right now, because this means the federal government did not launch the asset seizure yesterday afternoon simply because 50 Cent made a post on Instagram. In fact, the metadata implies a far more intricate and high-stakes corporate alliance, with a growing number of legal analysts now openly suggesting that 50 Cent's media production syndicate had been quietly working in the dark alongside federal financial intelligence units. They were strategically using his massive public platform to bait Ross into making public statements about his wealth, so the authorities could execute a pre-planned asset freeze with absolute legal immunity. But here is the final and most chilling detail that dropped just minutes ago. A revelation that completely changes the stakes of the entire global investigation and leaves everyone speechless. A technical court clerk working out of the federal district court noted that the specific corporate file numbers embedded in the seized Promised Land paperwork match a highly confidential active federal grand jury investigation into international shell company asset concealment and corporate racketeering. This means that the hidden bank records 50 Cent released yesterday afternoon are not just a piece of dirty celebrity gossip or internet trolling, but rather core pieces of physical evidence in an active federal criminal case. By putting these specific files into the public domain through 50 Cent's media infrastructure, the legal teams have successfully used the public internet to trigger a permanent and irreversible asset liquidation before the federal grand jury can issue an official indictment against a joint corporate entity. The implications are absolutely mind-blowing and terrifying for anyone watching from the sidelines. The biggest boss did not just lose his cars due to a leaked document, but his entire commercial existence has been transformed into a high-stakes chess match for absolute physical and financial survival against an incoming federal sweep. The countdown has officially started across every major news network. The panic is completely real. The files have been verified by multiple sources, and the multi-million-dollar empire is violently fracturing before our very eyes. What happens when the full unedited database file finally hits the public airwaves? Who will be the next legendary celebrity to watch their entire corporate legacy dissolve in high definition while the world watches? The entertainment industry has officially run out of time, and the G-Unit General is sitting comfortably at the master control panel ready to press play on the final act. This is easily the most explosive and high-stakes structural shift in the history of premium entertainment commentary, and the corporate and legal warfare is developing at a white-hot pace that leaves no room for error. We are actively tracking the international banking movements, asset forfeiture court dockets, and federal compliance leaks to bring you the absolute latest updates the exact second they hit the wire. But we need to hear from you right now because this is a historic cultural moment that is permanently changing the rules of the game forever, and your perspective matters more than ever. Do you truly believe 50 Cent was secretly working in the dark alongside federal intelligence teams to orchestrate this massive asset seizure? Or do you think Rick Ross can successfully launch a legal counterstrike and reclaim his biggest boss status from the federal agents? Who do you think is the prominent Hollywood elite desperately trying to scrub their name from the upcoming offshore file leaks before they drop? Scroll down to the comment section right now and drop your absolute raw thoughts, because we want to get a massive intelligent debate going under this video right away. If you want to stay 3 steps ahead of the algorithm, if you want to see the exclusive breakdown of the leaked offshore bank logs the second they are verified, and if you want to get emergency alerts the moment the next part of the database drops, you need to do 3 critical things right now. Smash that like button to push this truth deep into the global algorithm, hit the subscribe button, and activate the notification bell so you never miss a single emergency update. Share this video across every single platform with anyone who thinks a celebrity's secrets are safe from the feds. Keep your eyes locked on this channel, keep your notifications turned on, and brace yourselves because the next 48 hours are going to completely redefine the entertainment game forever. This is where everything changes, and you cannot afford to look away for even a single second. The walls are closing in on the Maybach Empire, and the final chapter of this historic feud is being written in real time. Before the next wave of leaked documents drops and sends shockwaves through Hollywood, we want to hear your unfiltered opinion on this madness. Do you think the biggest boss will find a way to beat the federal rap? Or has 50 Cent officially secured the ultimate checkmate? Drop your thoughts in the comments below right now. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all notifications so you do not miss the next massive update. We will see you in the very next report.